For 2023, Yonex has really improved their VCORE line, catapulting them from mid-tier performers to top-level spin monsters. The tricky thing though is choosing between them. So in today's video, we will be analyzing the different playing characteristics between the VCORE 98 and the VCORE 100 to see which is best for your game. So first, let's go over the 4 key spec differences between the 100 and the 98. The first, obviously, head size, weight, beam thickness, and finally, stiffness. In practice, these spec differences translate to 3 major areas on the court: speed, forgiveness, and feel. First, I want to start off with the most improved aspect of these new VCOREs, and that is the feel. The feel in the previous generations of VCORE was always the racket's greatest weakness. While the 95s always felt awesome, the 98s and the 100s were always plagued by a disconnected and pretty brassy feel. The old version's muted feel somehow garbled the racket's vibrations, making it unclear what exactly was happening on the string bed, while simultaneously transmitting more than their fair share of vibrations, leading to a moderately uncomfortable experience. So to address this, for 2023, Yonex has dropped the stiffness with both models, now coming in 4 points lower on the RA than previous generations. This new softened layup, combined with a wider upper hoop and very open string spacing towards the tip of the frame in both the 98 and the 100, brings some of the best ball pocketing experiences in both the 100 and 98 score range classes. The 100 does feel noticeably firmer than the 98 though. I'd say it retains about 10% of that brassiness from the previous generation, and you can really feel that ball shoot out of the string bed with more urgency in the 100 when compared to the 98. Still, I think the VCORE 100 does feel more connected than the Pure Aero, and it feels softer than the Extreme MP, meaning that feel is no longer a deal breaker for this racket. On the other hand, the 98 is absolutely superb. It feels very, very solid for its weight, especially when you consider that my swing weight came in 6 points below the targeted average at 312. The ball pocketing is super plush, and overall it reminds me of one of my favorite feeling rackets of all time, the 2018 VCORE 95. As expected, the VCORE 100 is significantly more forgiving than the 98. Okay, now we got the 100. Felt like I needed a little extra help on returns, especially. The higher stiffness, the thicker beam, the larger head size, they all contribute to a much more stable experience. The 100 offers very good power and control during off-center shots. In general though, power here is on the lower end when compared to the competition, definitely for me falling behind the Extreme MP and the Babolat Pure Aero. When you're pressed behind the baseline or returning serves, I felt like the VCORE 100 helped me redirect pace with confidence. It stayed stable even during lower swing speeds, which is definitely something I've come to expect from these thicker beam rackets. I don't think it offers that same directional control and amazing stability as you find in the EZONE 100. But I love that shot, the down the line forehand topspin. Thanks. I love that shot with this racket, the down the line forehand topspin. Feel like the stability, extra power, pushes that ball nice and deep. But that, of course, is the beauty of a thicker beam. So what happens when you trim a few millimeters off the beam design? Well, the VCORE 98 definitely feels less stable than the 100, but I also think it feels a little bit less stable than its key competitors like the EZONE 98, the Pure Aero VS, or the Pure Strike 98. I do feel like it doesn't plow through as much, so you have to keep your swing speed up at all times. 3-2. Still, I was able to find a surprising blend of maneuverability and stability with the new VCORE 98. Even against bigger serves, the VCORE 98 remained surprisingly stable despite its lower weight and stiffness, offering that same X-Factor solid feel that you can only really get in the EZONE 98. Well, until now, obviously, it's in the VCORE 98 too. I have to say, I have been enjoying the 98 on serve quite a bit. And as long as you can maintain solid contact in the upper hoop of the racket, where that string pattern opens up and they've pulled out the shoulders in the frame design, there's more than enough put away power on tap, making things feel a little bit easier when compared to rackets like the Extreme Tour or that EZONE 98. But I don't think power comes quite as freely as we got in the Pure Aero VS.
That's my right-handed chapeau, sir.
Both VCORE 100 and 98 offer amazing maneuverability. Whether or not you believe their aerodynamic beam designs play a factor, both rackets encourage huge, fast swings. Typically, I find that these rackets that have more open string patterns tend to launch the ball more than I would like. In most cases, this fills me with fear of overhitting and causes me to really reduce my swing speed to keep the ball in, which completely defeats the purpose of having a maneuverable racket, in my opinion.
I also just get so much speed out of it, it's like I can swing fast even when I feel pressed.
Initially, I did have those same fears with the VCOREs, especially since that pattern opens up in the upper hoop, that's where I like to contact the ball. That's where I break strings typically. But the crazy thing is, I was getting so much extra spin with both the 100 and the 98 that the ball would just take a nosedive right before it would sail along, diving inside the baseline loaded with tons of spin and getting excellent depth. So that really impressed me, and while I do think the VCORE feels super quick through the air, delivering serious spin potential when compared to other 100 square-inch rackets, including the monsters like the Pure Aero and the Extreme MP, I think this VCORE 98 just takes it up a level. That VCORE 98 brought out swing speeds in my game that I just did not know existed. I found that the faster I swung, the more power, the more spin, and the more control that I was developing. I usually really struggle against big hitters when I use a low swing weight racket. But even though my copy came in under spec, I found that the frame was more than capable of handling those tough moments. More than that, it encouraged me to take huge, extremely fast swings, so I was hitting bigger balls and hitting more spin than I hit with even my customized Extreme Tour or any racket that I've ever tried.
For a modern 100 though, it does swing quite fast. Definitely faster than the Pure Aero for me.
That wider head shape makes vertical swing paths feel very viable, and the insane maneuverability leads to massive racket head speeds, at least in my game.
You can definitely feel maneuverability is decreased with the 100. Can't get quite the same kind of racket head speeds, but the thicker beam makes up for it for sure.
So at the end of the day, I really think these VCOREs were well engineered for top spin players. On court, they really encourage you to go for that more vertical swing to generate big top spin and that bead ball. Ultimately, I think the VCORE 100 and the 98 are for very similar players who might be at different places in their tennis careers. For those who want a more plush, solid feeling racket backed by huge speed through the air and epic spin potential, I don't think there's much better choices out there. The extra forgiveness in that 100 really helps you out if you're not in the perfect position to take a full swing. That thick beam can just be a saving grace, especially when you're caught out on the defense. It's more forgiving when you're on the back foot, yet still generates reliable, heavy top spin from the back of the court. The VCORE 98 definitely plays its best under maximum swing speeds.
That one, I kept my racket head speed up even though I felt pressed. That's the secret to the VCORE 98.
You've got excellent footwork. You will be rewarded with huge levels of spin as long as you can keep your foot on the gas at all times.
So between the VCORE 100 and the 98, Yonex has really improved these rackets. I think they're the most improved rackets of the year.
If you're looking for a spin-oriented racket, these are at the top of my list. If you're a maximum top spin player, I think you should look here instead of the Aero lines. Personally, now those rackets have such high twist weights, I think they're a skip if you really rely on having big wrist action. And will I switch to the 98?